Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. You will have two options to choose from here on out: to be trapped in your own apartment with no power or water and full of cockroaches and rats, or trapped in your own home with a hungry tiger in the middle of a hurricane. In today's video we will walk through two bizarre confinement stories with the 2016 movie, Trapped, and the 2010 movie, Burning Bright. A young man named Shaurya falls in love with his office mate Nori, but even though she also likes him, she already has a wedding arranged for the next few months. With the ceremony approaching, Shaurya asks her to call off the wedding and stay with him, but Nori says she can't do that because she will be thrown out of the house and have nowhere to live. But the boy promises to get a house in the next few days. To this end, Shaurya gathers all his savings and starts looking for a place, but since he has only managed to gather 15,000 rupees, he does not have enough money to pay a decent place rent, and so he is rejected at every property he passes. Until the last one, a strange fellow sees the boy's desperation and runs after him in the middle of the street saying he has an apartment that fits his budget. With no options, Shaurya agrees to visit the place and goes with the man there. As soon as they arrive at the building, they pass by the security guard who doesn't even notice their presence and enter the elevator where the man explains that he will be the only resident, because the building is still under construction. With this explained, they go to the 35th floor and Shaurya is delighted with the apartment, which is already furnished and in perfect condition, with the exception of the door that is stuck, and that even with a key is difficult to open. But Shaurya doesn't mind this detail and agrees to rent the apartment, where he spends the night happy with this new acquisition. The next morning, Shaurya wakes up very early and starts getting ready for work, but the place is completely without water and he can't brush his teeth. Unable to miss work, Shaurya gets ready anyway and leaves the apartment, but just as he calls the elevator, Nori calls him, making him realize that he forgot the device on the bed. Shaurya unlocks the door and answers the call saying that he will take the girl somewhere special after work. But while talking on the phone, he doesn't realize that he has left the door open until a draft hits the door, trapping him. Since he has left the key outside, Shaurya tries to turn the knob to open the door, but he pushes too hard and the object breaks off in his hand. At that moment, the boy goes to the kitchen cabinet, gets a pair of pliers and once again tries to get the door open, but without success. Realizing that he will not be able to get out of there on his own, Shaurya calls a locksmith and asks him to come to the apartment, but his cell phone goes off just as he is giving the address. His cell phone did not charge during the night because the socket was not working. As soon as he realizes this, the man puts his cell phone on the charger and turns on the air conditioning while waiting for the battery to recharge, but somehow this has overloaded the electrical system, leaving the entire building without power. Now locked inside the incommunicado apartment with no water and no electricity, Shaurya's nightmare begins. Desperate to get out, Shaurya starts hitting the door latch with pliers, but realizes this won't work when he opens a wound on his own hand. He then runs to the balcony and starts shouting, trying to get the attention of someone on the street, but he cannot be heard. Realizing that no one will come to his aid, Shaurya tries to rub the cell phone battery against his pants to energize it with static electricity, but obviously it doesn't work. For this to work, he would need to rub with absurd speed. Frustrated, the young man throws the cell phone away, but soon has another idea and picks it up again to this time try to energize it with sunlight. But it doesn't work either. Luckily, he did not cause a fire. After that he gives up and just sits at the sink thinking about life, but during the night he decides to take a flashlight and cover it with a red cloth, making a kind of emergency light. But although it is a good idea, no one can see him. On the morning of the second day, Shaurya goes through all the rooms checking to see if the power or water is back on. And as soon as he realizes this, he takes a pan and starts banging on the railing, trying again to get people's attention. But it doesn't work either. In a desperate act, Shaurya removes the television from the wall and throws it through the gap in the railing to try to get the attention of the building's security guard, but the gentleman is practically deaf and can't hear anything. After that, the boy realizes that there are some cardboard boxes on top of the closet and decides to use them to write a message. He then takes the boxes and starts to separate some pieces to write on, but what exactly to use as ink? Thinking about this, Shaurya starts looking around the house for some material until he finds a tube with a green substance that he uses to finally write the call for help and tell where he is. With the message written, Shaurya goes to the balcony and throws it over the railing, but to his misfortune, the cardboard falls right onto the roof of a house and he has to write a second message. This time he throws the cardboard in another direction, but the message still falls on top of another building. Disgruntled, the lucky man goes back to the kitchen to write another distress call, but that green substance has run out, and after not being able to find something else to write, he opens that wound on his hand that he made the day before, and uses his own blood to write the message. With that done, he throws the cardboard, which this time finally hits the terrace of a house. Now it is only a matter of time before someone sees the message and goes to rescue him, but no one comes, and the second day ends with Shaurya watching people partying outside. In the early hours of the morning, the boy goes to get a packet of cookies to eat when he starts to hear a strange noise, and as he lights up, he sees a rat staring at the packet. Since he has always been scared to death of rats, Shaurya even tries to run from there, but ends up turning around too quickly and hits his head on the wall, passing out instantly. On the morning of the third day, the man regains consciousness and realizes that the water has returned, but afraid that the rat is still in the bathroom, he goes to another room to drink water from the tap. But for some reason, the only one that is working is the one in the bathroom where the rat was. Overcome by fear, Shaurya cries as he stands by and watches the water being wasted until it stops falling for good. With no idea what to do, the boy decides to write one more message, but with his wound almost fully healed, he breaks the bathroom glass and drills a hole in the tip of his finger, using the blood to be able to write the cry for help once again. When he finishes, he goes to the balcony and throws the cardboard that falls right on the building's entrance, but the security guard doesn't see it. To try to attract attention, Shaurya sets up a makeshift slingshot, grabs some rocks, and starts throwing them toward the terrace where a woman is taking clothes off the clothesline. But he can't throw them close enough and she leaves without seeing the cardboard. Still trying to signal that she is there, Shaurya rips off some clothes and uses the fabric to form the word, "help," on the balcony. But since it is nighttime, no one can see. The next day, the security guard finds the cardboard at the entrance to the building, but ignores it thinking it is some kind of prank by the children. But almost simultaneously after 3 days, the woman finally finds the call for help and drops her clothes to try to save him, but as soon as she arrives at the building she meets with the security guard who says that the building is still under construction and there is no one living there. Finding this whole situation strange, the woman still insists that someone might be in need of help and heads for the elevator. But since the building is without power, she starts to climb the stairs until halfway up she realizes that the second floors were really empty and decides to go back home, while Shaurya is a few floors above trying to get her attention. After realizing that she has left, the man is frustrated that yet another plan has gone wrong and decides that he will do anything to get noticed. Remember the request for help from the balcony? Shaurya takes a matchbox and sets up a kind of makeshift torch that he uses to set fire to the cloths on the grid. In this way, it is practically impossible for anyone to see him. As soon as he realizes that it is working, Shaurya runs to the bedroom and brings the mattress to set it on fire, making an even bigger flame. But the fire starts to get out of control and he has to stay up all night putting out the flames in order not to be charred. Tired and without having eaten or drunk anything for the past 5 days, Shaurya starts eating the garbage he finds around the apartment to avoid malnutrition. But knowing that this won't be enough to survive, he takes a piece of wood and enters the bathroom where the rat is to try to recover his cookie, but as it was obvious, the rat didn't leave any bran. At this point, the mouse appears and they stare at each other as if they were fighting a duel in the Old West, but suddenly the flashlight begins to fail and Shaurya panics and fetalizes like a baby. Aware that his dehydration is getting worse by the second, the next morning Shaurya urinates into a pot so he can drink, but he ends up getting disgusted and throws out all the food he still had in his stomach. Now even more dehydrated and hungry, Shaurya lies on the bathroom floor with no strength for anything, until suddenly he begins to hear a strange noise. Curious about what it could be, Shaurya gets up and starts walking to the balcony where he realizes that it is the sound of rain. After 6 days without water, he is finally able to rehydrate. Not knowing when he will have water again, Shaurya tears out the toilet flush box and a siphon from the bathroom to assemble a water collector, with which he can fill several buckets. But wanting to store even more, he dismantles the refrigerator and uses it as a large water tank, so he has enough water for several days, and can finally take his first shower in his new apartment. On the 7th day, Shaurya decides to use that slingshot he has set up to shoot a pigeon that has landed on his balcony, and even though he is a vegetarian because of his religion, he plucks the animal and builds a makeshift fire to cook the bird's meat. But just as he leaves to go to the bathroom, the damned rat takes the opportunity to eat the pigeon. In a rage, Shaurya starts running around the apartment chasing the rat until he manages to catch it by the tail while saying he will eat it, but he gives up and releases it soon after, causing the animal to faint in the fall. Completely demented, Shaurya puts the mouse in a plastic box and feeds it the pigeon's meat while they spend the whole night talking. The next morning, the boy begins to look at the other floors of the building with a piece of mirror, until he discovers that the apartment on the 30th floor does not yet have balcony railings, meaning that if he can find a way to cut the pipes that hold him there, he can climb down and escape through the front door. Not knowing exactly how he is going to do it, Shaurya begins to devise a plan with his rodent friend to get them out of there, but having only a broken fan propeller, a fuse, and a pan to cut the pipes, it is sure to take time. With this in mind, The man begins his long journey to saw through the grate and finally escape, but with such sharp tools, several days go by and he can't cut even half the pipe. Trying to speed up the process, Shaurya sets up a kind of improvised blowtorch to heat the tube and make it more pliable. In this way, he finally makes some progress, but the whole process is still time-consuming. And with no more pigeons to shoot, Shaurya starts feeding on everything he can find to survive, from ants to larger insects like cockroaches. Thinking he is close to escaping, Shaurya finally releases the rat and continues sawing away at the iron bar until he pauses to hydrate himself with the now totally filthy water. But this was a big mistake, because soon he begins to feel ill and once again, he puts out everything he has eaten until he finally passes out. The next morning, Shaurya wakes up totally exhausted, but still does not give up. He puts on his clothes and goes straight to the balcony where he keeps kicking the railing until a pipe finally breaks. Finally, after 2 weeks locked up, he managed to get out. Even with almost no strength, Shaurya hangs himself outside and begins to slowly descend the floors until he reaches the 30th floor where he notices another problem. Since there is no guardrail, there are no tubes for him to stand on, so it is a false step, and he is gone. Since he has come too far to simply give up, Shaurya goes back to the 31st floor and attaches his belt to one of the tubes, making a sort of makeshift safety rope. With his extremely professional equipment, the boy begins to hang on to his belt until he finally manages to get his footing on the guardrail and slowly walks along the bars until he reaches the balcony. But as soon as he tries to open the door, he realizes that it is locked. Completely exhausted by everything going wrong, Shaurya summons the rest of his strength and starts kicking the glass madly until he finally manages to knock down a part of the door. Afraid that something else might go wrong, Shaurya walks slowly to the main door, but when he pulls the handle, the door opens without difficulty. That is, after so many days, the boy finally got his long-dreamed freedom. Even though he is extremely weak due to his unhealthy diet and countless days without water, Shaurya goes down the 30 flights of stairs and walks alone to the hospital. After a few days of being unconscious in the hospital, Shaurya wakes up with Nori crying next to him. Believing it to be from happiness, the boy begins to smile and tries to hold her hand, but the girl let go, revealing that she has a wedding ring on her finger and leaves. That's right, the woman he loves married someone else, and in the end, it was all for nothing. We will now move on to the events of the movie, Burning Bright. Johnny owns a safari ranch and has just bought a ferocious tiger from a circus that brutally devoured a live mare during a performance. Upon arriving with the beast at the site, he asks the employees to remove it from the shipping container, but one of the men almost has his fingers ripped off by the animal. Soon after, Kelly and her brother Tom arrive on the scene. She has come looking for Johnny, her stepfather, since the idiot stole all the money from their mother's account to buy the tiger, as soon as she passed away. To make matters worse, that night there was a hurricane coming through the region, and since Johnny is a demon-possessed, while Kelly and Tom were sleeping, he took the tiger's cage into the house and let it loose so that the animal could hunt the two young people. During the early morning hours, Kelly wakes up startled by the heavy rainstorm, and decides to get up to get some water. But as she starts to walk back up the stairs, she hears a noise in the kitchen. Checking for the first time, she finds nothing, but the noise still persisted, and when she looks downstairs, she sees the huge tiger passing through the hallway. Kelly silently goes back to her room and tries to find the best way out, but the windows have wooden plugs screwed in because of the hurricane, which means there is no way out. To add to her bad luck, the cell phone was left in her pants that are in the laundry downstairs. She decides to head down the hallway on the lurk to phone, but of course due to the storm it is not working. As she looks downstairs again, she realizes that the tiger is approaching the ladder to climb it. Kelly runs into her brother's room and discovers that he is not in bed sleeping. The boy is simply gone. The woman takes courage to go down to the first floor carefully and goes straight to the laundry room to get her cell phone, but when she calls the emergency, a digital recording says that due to the hurricane, she should just enter the phone number and wait for the police to return. She tries to call Johnny, but the man is drinking in a bar and has left his cell phone in the car on purpose. As she leaves the laundry room, he sees the shadow of the tiger on the wall and decides to run out to the front door, but lo and behold, another wooden plug screwed in. As with the laundry room door, even with her efforts, it is not possible to break through the barricades. The sounds of kicking on wood alerted the beast to where the girl was. As soon as she notices the tiger approaching, Kelly runs to get a knife from the kitchen and locks herself in the laundry room again. There is a small window above the washing machine. The cover has a gap in it that might be opened. With the help of an iron, she tries to break through the wood, but the tiger is already at the door trying to break it down. As there was no more time, Kelly runs to the laundry chute that leads to the second floor. And at the last second, she manages to hide inside. The tiger has invaded the laundry room, and the girl is holding on with all her might to the pipe walls, sweating with desperation. The tiger is already far below her, sniffing around. To her delight, the police decided to call her back just then. The sound of the cell phone being left on the floor caused the animal to completely destroy the device. Kelly is nervous and slipping, so she ends up spilling a drop of sweat on the floor. This is how the tiger discovers where its prey is. The beast looks up at the tube and decides to make a surprise leap, doing everything it can to slice the girl with its claws. She slowly makes her way up, struggling with the slippery walls, while the beast remains in full fury far below her. But Kelly gets as far as the second floor, and with great effort exits through the door of dirty clothes. And it was her brother Tom. Standing inside the bathroom, she needed to take it very calmly into the office, because the boy has autism and gets stressed easily if he is pressured. Once inside the other room, she runs to the computer and tries to access the internet, but as she should know by now, no connection. The tiger is at the door again, banging and almost bursting the hinges. Since inevitably the tiger will enter, she picks up her brother and spreads perfume all over the bedroom floor and crawls under the bed. The beast invades the room and starts sniffing them. The scent of perfume seems to have worked. The creature climbs on top of the bed, and for a moment, is silent. She turns the mattress over on top of the animal, creating a sort of shield to protect her and her brother, and stretches her arm as far as she can to reach the door right behind them so they can escape from the room. The two of them quickly go downstairs. This is when she gets the idea to run to the refrigerator and get a tray of raw meat, and insert some calming pills to try to quench the beast. The problem is that her brother is having a fit who wants to eat something and is making an absurd racket. Still, she manages to throw the raw meatballs around the house and get the animal to eat them. As quickly as possible, Kelly picks up Tom, who is still raging about the food, and takes him to the hallway, telling him to go to his room. The girl takes a small table and uses it as a support to reach the trapdoor in the attic, but the thing is bolted down. Johnny thought of everything so they wouldn't run away. When she hears the sound of the tiger approaching, the table Kelly is leaning on snaps and she has to run out into the room where Tom is. Over there, once again, she tries to push through the barricades, but nothing done. The woman takes the opportunity to use a bookcase as a blockade on the door. However, the tiger already knows they are there and has started to rake the wood again. Kelly arms herself with a powerful crowbar and the two of them hide inside the closet. Through the cracks in the door, it is possible to see that the animal has managed to get in and is looking for them. And of course the creature found them. The tiger tries to break down the closet door, and Kelly uses her crowbar to destroy the unfinished wooden wall that leads to the hallway behind the bedroom. Her brother leaves first, but when it's her turn, the tiger digs its claws into her leg, making a very serious wound. The two once again flee to the floor below, now hiding in the library. While dressing her wound, Kelly finds an insurance policy taken out by her stepfather. Then she discovers that Johnny had killed her mother to collect the insurance money on her behalf, and has now set up this ambush with the tiger to take out both siblings and keep it all for himself. Girl sees that on the shelf there is revolver ammunition and remembers that there was a gun somewhere. After searching the entire place, she eventually finds it and leaves it fully loaded and ready for action. Kelly leaves the library first to see if the tiger has gone off sleeping pills, but the animal is still wide awake. But Tom leaves the library without caring at all and goes into the living room to turn on the TV with a very loud sound of his favorite program. To keep the tiger from attacking her brother, the girl aims her revolver and goes to shoot, but the gun misses miserably, so the beast takes off on her. Kelly runs into the dining room and slides under the table. Her luck is that the tiger jumped up on the table and was distracted by his reflection in the mirror. She takes the chance and locks him inside, but as she tries to catch her brother, she is slapped right in the face by him and the tiger bursts the glass door behind them. Kelly flees behind the kitchen counter, and the moment the animal climbs on top of the stove, she ignites some of the flames and burns the animal's paws off. She throws things at him, but this only irritates the animal. Once again, her option was to run to the laundry room and try to get out through the blocked window on top of the machine. Only now the plan worked. Just barely, she jumps out into the storm and is almost by the tiger's claws. Kelly runs to the car and tries to start it to get out of there and get help, but the car won't start either. And her biggest problem is that her brother has stayed behind in the house. She won't be able to leave him there, so she runs back out into the rain and comes in through the same window she just left. When she enters the house, Tom is no longer on the couch watching TV. She goes through the rooms in search of him and finds him sitting in the ruined closet. The two go into the bathroom together. Kelly puts on some clothes for protection and uses a broom handle, a piece of cloth, and alcohol to improvise a torch. The siblings go down the stairs cautiously, listening to the noises of the tiger throughout the house. When they get close to the entrance door, the tiger jumps from the second floor and almost hits Kelly. She comes face to face with the beast and manages to get a shot off in the animal's head, But this makes it even more insane. She walks away together with Tom waving the torch to scare the tiger. They back away like this, until they reach the kitchen. Kelly sends her brother into the freezer first and then quickly jumps in with him. The tiger advances with all its fury and knocks the freezer aside. The two are already inside, and the tiger tries every which way to open the door to get them. But Kelly just lights a lighter and tries to calm her brother down in that dark, claustrophobic space. The two spend the whole night inside, and in the morning they decide to leave. Kelly hears the sound of a screwdriver. It was Johnny removing the plugs, who enters armed with a rifle to verify that the plan had worked. The two siblings end up bumping into the idiot who starts making lame excuses as to where he was. Kelly confronts the man saying that he killed her mother. Before he could say anything, the tiger leaps at his throat and devours him alive. Kelly takes the opportunity to leave the house with her brother and they are finally free of the nightmare. Which of these situations do you think you would escape more easily? The apartment of the cockroaches and rats or the house of the hungry tiger? So, what did you think of these movies? Let us know in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like it and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.